just thought I'd take a short break just to let you know about becoming a Breakout Bestie. So we've launched a brand new subscription service for the small businesses that need us in your pocket. So why do you need to become a Breakout Bestie? Well, it's just a monthly subscription that gives you access to us when you need us. There's a closed group where you can ask us any question you need. There's also an anonymous posting on, so if you've got clients in the same group, you can ask us anything and we'll get back to you. Sometimes that'll be a quick answer, other times it might be that we need a bit more of an in-depth chat. There'll also be posts and information on the latest trends, the latest strategies for social media, upcoming things from HMRC that you may have missed, just anything you need to make your life easier to run your business. You'll also have access to our client base and money off discounts and vouchers for various services we've got coming out. This is brand new, it's only just been launched, so have a look, go on our website under Besties and sign up soon. The minute that interaction, that negative interaction happens, there's a bad feeling about that. And I think it's very reassuring that there's still people that will come out and own it and say, do you know what? No, I'm not. That's not okay. And I apologise for it. I think it's important to note that none of us are perfect. No one got that shiny halo. And we're all human. We all make mistakes. Hi and welcome to Business Rainbows and Unicorns, where there's no such thing as failure if you don't try. This podcast is specifically for business owners or wannabe business owners. Say you've got a side hustle or you've got a passion for something and you think it'd be absolutely amazing, or you see people that do amazing things with their passions and what they enjoy doing. Well, you can do that. So please subscribe and we hope you enjoy listening to this episode. Hi and welcome to Breakout Business Rainbows and Unicorns, where there's no such thing as failure if you don't try. Now, I thought I'd pop on just to talk about the cost of apologising. Now, we all do it. We all, hands up, make mistakes, do things wrong, don't do things in time, mess up. And I think back in the day, you couldn't see what people were doing 24/7. You can see that they were online. You can see that they were talking to other people, and everyone was in their own bubble. So if something went wrong, it had to be a face-to-face conversation. It was never a message, or it was never a sly thing on Facebook. There was never, you couldn't half say something. You had to proper own it and say something. So I think that's really important. It's definitely important to note in the business world as well. Breakout's been open for 3 years and I've been working for myself for over 10 years. The biggest piece of that is communication. And communication, I think, is really, really important when something has gone wrong. So when there might be ill feeling, or you've messed up, or you've said something, there's two ways that we can talk about this. And when you've done something wrong or made a mistake, so hands up, it might be a straightforward mistake, straightforward accident. There's another thing where you might have said something wrong or said something offensive. And there's a difference between saying it offensive to someone and putting it in writing to someone. And then there's a genuine thing that, hands up, I've done. Someone's had to chase me on work, and admittedly, it's just gone out my mind. I just haven't done the work because I've forgotten about it, or I didn't write it down. Anyone that knows Breakout and people coming in and out, you can have a phone call while you're doing 3 things at once. If I don't write that down, which I've got quite good at saying to people now because it has happened in the past, let me just write that down and add it to my diary, because if it's not written down, it will fly out of my head and it doesn't happen. Now, I think it's important to note that none of us are perfect. No one got that shiny halo, and we're all human. We all make mistakes. I think that maybe due to social media and the way of the world, people have become less tolerant of mistakes. People don't know there's a human behind a business or a business page or social media. That's why we obviously have the biggest extreme, which is online trolls and bullying and just not comments and feedback about people. And one of the reasons I'm recording this is because it's happened recently on both sides, but I think it's really, really important for people to understand and know how to recover from it. It's like we always say in Breakout, if we get an inquiry in, we always try to get back to people within 48 hours. And if someone asks anything, we try to get back to them as soon as possible. If we don't, there's a genuine reason for that. Either it has been missed, or we've just been too busy, or we would never ignore anyone on purpose, because customer service is really, really important. And I think that is all down to communication being really, really important to people. So a few examples we've had recently, like I say, I've forgotten to do stuff, which I've then gone back to someone and gone, hands up, owned it. Because I think when you see someone, you see that dreaded message or email going, oh my word, and that person pops in, you think, oh, it's that sinking feeling, or if I haven't done it, I haven't done the work. It's quite tempting to ignore that and procrastinate over it and not get back to them straight away. But actually, you're just making it worse. Silence can fuel a fire, because if you think, and we always try to flip it the other way, how does the customer feel? How does that other person feel on that? So I think it's really important to, it's like the phrase we've used before, eat the frog. So do the hardest task first. Just own up to it and admit it, and people will respect you for it so much more. Another example is people saying or emailing something really not nice. Now, I think it's two very different examples there. When someone emails you something, you would hope that they've written it out, they've checked it, they've reread it, they might have even checked it with someone else, but they have written that's in writing. That's very, very different to saying something. So when you've had that in writing, and again, I've had that happen to me, I've replied quite quickly. However, I've got the experience of working for a company when it was a bit like media training. It's a bit like contract training of what are you going to put in writing. Whatever you put in writing, you have to own and be happy with the fact that that could be printed out, that could be sent to someone, that could be worst case scenario in business sense, it could be read out in court and used against you. So I chose to reply quite quickly to nip it in the bud, but to be very factual, I took the emotion out of it and replied. It did make the person think what they'd sent, and they didn't mean it in that way. But at that point, I was kind of, you wrote that, you put that in writing. However, having similar happen in face-to-face in a conversation quite recently, people, you never know what day that person's having. You never know what facts they've got behind them, which you could say to the same in writing. Now, this happened to me and I visibly looked upset, and hands up, professionalism probably didn't go down, but I wasn't going to stand there and argue my point. It wasn't the time or the place to do that. However, that person chose to come and apologise face-to-face. And I think that's a massive deal nowadays, because when things like that happen, and we all have it, everyone's got something going on, you always should give someone the benefit of the doubt. What have they had happen that morning? What have they got going on in their life? 9 times out of 10, it's not about you. However, the minute that interaction, that negative interaction happens, there's a bad feeling about that. And I think it's very reassuring that there's still people that will come out and own it and say, do you know what? No, I'm not. That's not okay. And I apologise for it. Because if that's not happening, it lingers. And when it lingers, you sit on it, there's bad feeling, and that bad feeling continues and continues. Whether you want to say it directly affects you or not, it does. And I can tell you it does. Having been through similar and being a couple of years down the line of something, it's never got resolved. And if you're someone that needs something resolved, it is best to have that conversation and resolve it. And I think that's what comes down to it, of the cost of apologising. Because actually, if you own it and apologise and you've had that conversation, it makes such a difference to how you will recover from it. But both sides recover from it. I've had an interaction with a business and we just stopped our relationship with that business, which was really sad, but there was never any apology. So it was never fully recovered from. So actually it affected both of us. This time, it's nipped in the bud, it's sorted, there'll be no ill feeling going forward. So you've drawn a line under that issue, and that is really, really important to do nowadays, I think, because if you bury your head in the sand, if you ignore it, it's going to eat away at you. The other person's going to be really wound up and actually just keep thinking badly of you. Whereas if you can own it, apologise from it, that bad feeling will go away. It might be that they still choose not to interact with you anymore, but you've done the right thing. So you've got that reassurance and peace of mind that you don't have to stress over it anymore. And they've had an apology. It's on them if they want to accept it or not. But ultimately, it is the right thing to do. And I think it's then turning that negative into a positive, because there's so many scenarios, and you see it so often now, where a negative relationship will just keep being negative. If you can nip that into the bud and turn it into a positive and turn it into a learning, which I promise you can, just by apologising or just by finding a way to make things right. And I promise you there will always be a way to make things right. Everyone benefits from it. No business ever gets on well with repeated negative activity. So whether it's bad behaviour, whether it's bad clients, bad customers, bad service, it will never recover from that. However positive, it will, and it will always be in favour. And then ultimately your reputation goes up and people want to work with you. So I think the main aim of this is just, if you're sitting on something, just own up to your mistakes and lose that bad feeling. You'll know in the back of your mind if something's not okay, or if you've had an issue with someone and it's never been resolved, and they're probably aware of it. However, even if you bring it up to make you yourself feel better, they might even turn around and go, oh yeah, I forgot about that. That was like nothing. God, no, I forgot that even happened. But then it's giving you the reassurance that that's done and you can draw a line under it. And I think that's what's important in this day and age, because there's so much out there that you can misread and misunderstand from someone. And it's just not worth it. Not worth losing sleep over, not having stress over. We've got enough stress and anxiety with everything going on in the world. We don't need to add to that. So let us know if you found this helpful. And if you need help with that or how to word something, Breakout is always here. It's something we do quite regularly, whether it's replying to a customer, whether it's talking to a business or a supplier, chasing money. It's all things we can help with. So drop us a message and let us know. And if you know someone is sitting on it, please send them this episode, this quick fire episode of the podcast, because I promise you, you'll feel so much better if you get that resolved. So as always, like, share and subscribe, and let us know what you thought. Thanks for listening to this episode. We really hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please share with a friend who you think needs a bit of help with starting a business, or even their small business which they've already got going. Please like and subscribe to our podcast, which always helps a small business or small podcast like us. And check the show notes. We all have everything in there relating to the episode which you might need, might want to read, and links to anyone we've interviewed and certain subjects we've spoken about. And thanks for listening.